Move on to the co-main event, the flyweight championship of the world. Brandon Moreno coming in at -180 against Alexandre Pantoja, +180 for Pantoja. Over under 3.5 rounds, -135 for the over, +135 or the under. Pantoja 4-1 in his last 5. Brandon Moreno obviously coming off the somewhat of the quadrilogy with Figueiredo, but had that interim championship fight against Kai Kara-France, which you got to win in. The Figueiredo quadrilogy is put to rest. But then he's getting another familiar opponent here with Alexandre Pantoja, who beat him in the Ultimate Fighter and eliminated him from the Ultimate Fighter. And then they found themselves going up against each other once again in the UFC later. Pantoja beat him by decision and beat him pretty handedly because there was it was a pretty dominant win. You look at the judges' scorecards, and let me just pull them up right here. 30-26 for Chris Lee, 30-26 for Marcelo Vilhena, and a 29-27 for Richard Bertrand. But that was 5 years ago, and everyone knows how the improvements that Brandon Moreno has made over the years, especially getting that big experience with Figueiredo, who is one of the killers of the flyweight division. But Pantoja has been getting better too, and I think the drive that he's been on over the years to be like he hasn't really been able to get that championship fight because they've been going back and forth with Moreno and Figueiredo. I could see him coming in here and like a little bit more extra fire to be like, I've been wanting to get this fight against this guy for a long time, and I'm finally going to get it. Training at American Top Team is always a great camp there. And Brandon Moreno seems like he's settled down in Las Vegas and kind of started his own private gym there. And he's just got his normal people coming in there to help him train. So, yeah, I mean, I think this could be fight of the night because I think it could go 5 rounds. It could be just an all-out war for 5 rounds. I think as the fight goes on, Moreno's probably going to have the edge just with the activity, but Pantoja comes at you with the blitz early. So if Moreno can withstand that, I think he's got a decent shot to pull this one off. But what are you thinking?
Yeah, I just keep thinking that, he's beat Moreno twice, and how impressive it would be to be able to beat a caliber of fighter like Brandon Moreno 3 times. 3-0 against a guy like that, it would be insane, especially with the improvements Moreno's made. I mean, his last couple of fights, the Figueiredo wins, he looked like the best fighter at flyweight on the planet. No questions about it. The Kai Kara-France fight, obviously he won, but I'd argue that, that was a razor close fight up until that moment for as long as it lasted. But man, Moreno, you don't want to get trapped on the fence against Pantoja. You don't want to get trapped with him on top of you because this dude's proved time and time again, like as good as Moreno is on the ground, sub Figueiredo, all of that goes out the window when a dude like Pantoja is the one in dominant position on top of you. Like the dude against Alex Perez in that first round was just, super impressive for one, but just right when he got his hands locked, that sub was in nearly instantly around the neck. The dude is super quick. He's super talented. He's subbing dudes like Brandon Royval, beating Manel Kopp, knocking out Matt Schnell. This guy is legit. So this is going to be, like you said, I could see it going all 5. Luckily, their flyweights will probably get a great fight all 5 rounds. Probably won't see them, slow down drastically by any means. But Pantoja, if he comes out there, like he usually does, I think that's going to favor Moreno here. I think Moreno will welcome that. I think Moreno's confident enough in his ground game and his defensive, wrestling, grappling, all of that to hang in there and just let Pantoja get a little more tired. Because as fights go on, man, Moreno picks up the pace a little bit. That boxing super clean. I think he'll want this fight at range. The only thing is, man, Pantoja is the hardest guy to fight at range because he doesn't give you that opportunity. Sometimes he doesn't let you breathe. So it's interesting, dude. It's weird to see him beat Moreno twice and then come in here as a near 2-1 dog. Thought it'd be a little closer than that. Kind of hard to lay the chalk on Moreno at -200 when he's lost to this dude twice. So betting-wise, I'm not quite sure yet. For the pick, I'm going to stick with Moreno. I think he's gotten to the point where he is the best in the world. I think it's going to be a razor close fight, but I think he does pull it off.
One thing I will say about the fight stylistically is like Brandon Moreno's got that great boxing and he's pretty heavy on that front foot. And his opponents between Figueiredo and Kai Kara-France just haven't really like never really attacked the front leg. And that's something that Pantoja loves to do. He loves to chop that front leg, especially that's like a staple of ATTs, like leg kicks. So if he can start to break those down in the early rounds and make it a little tough on Moreno as the fight goes on, I think that's definitely a path that would help him out to possibly get a decision win. But I'm interested to see how he plays it too, because he does have that blitzing style, but this is going to be a 5-round fight. So does he come out with that much pressure, and how does he go about it? So I honestly, I like the plus money on Pantoja. And if it does keep going, I think Brandon Moreno is like the clear guy that the UFC would want, because he has like a huge following. He's the first ever Mexican champ. People love him. You look at a guy like Pantoja, just as far as the Instagram followers go, he's got like 50,000 followers. And Brandon Moreno's like well over 1 million. So I'm looking at this like, if Pantoja beats him, they probably give Moreno like an instant rematch, and which could be good for the flyweight division. But at the same time, if Pantoja beats him, like Pantoja's not exactly like the best champion for you as the UFC.
Yeah.
But yeah, the plus money on him is just a little tough to lay off because he's beaten him twice, and he's been so dominant like over his past 3 fights. And then I think Moreno's probably going to become a bigger favorite as the week goes on, just because he's a fan favorite, and people already know him. There's not a lot of people that know Pantoja. Like, people don't generally like, if you're just like the casual fan, you don't really watch flyweights like that. And Pantoja hasn't really been like that active over the past couple of years too. So yeah, for the pick, just to be contrarian, I'll take Pantoja. And I'll definitely keep an eye on the line, because if it keeps going up there, I think I'm going to be forced to take it.
Yeah. And people paying minus 200 on Moreno too. Like, dude, Pantoja's a savage. Like you said, not a lot of people probably have watched a lot of his fights. So if you're sitting there thinking, oh, Moreno just beat Figueiredo, just beat Kai Kara-France, I'm going to place a bet on him. Like, you might be shocked to see how good Pantoja is, because this dude is definitely, I guess he's deserving of being in this shot to fight for the title. Like, he is definitely up there top 3.
Yeah, I agree.